Imagine you're driving west on Interstate 70, leaving the chaotic sprawl of Denver behind you. The Rocky Mountains rise up like a fortress of granite and snow, promising an escape into nature, luxury, and the high-altitude dream that millions of Americans have chased for decades. For years, this landscape was the ultimate symbol of wealth and stability, a place where buying a home was considered a foolproof investment that would only ever go up in value. But as you wind through these mountain passes today, the feeling in the air has shifted from optimism to a heavy, suffocating silence. You look out the window, and instead of bustling town centers and vibrant communities, you see row after row of dark windows and empty driveways. The for sale signs are popping up like tombstones in a graveyard of lost equity, signaling a catastrophic shift that the mainstream media is only just beginning to whisper about. This is not just a market correction. It is a full-blown unraveling of the real estate fantasy that gripped Colorado during the pandemic. We are about to embark on a sobering road trip through 10 iconic mountain towns that are rapidly transforming into modern-day ghost towns. We are not talking about ancient mining settlements from the 1800s, but rather wealthy enclaves where the economy is freezing over. From skyrocketing inventory that no one wants to buy to crushing insurance premiums that are forcing locals to flee, the signs of collapse are everywhere. By the time we reach the number one spot on our list, you will understand why smart money is sprinting for the exits. Before we hit the gas, if you want to stay ahead of this housing curve, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below predicting which town will crash the hardest. Now, keep your eyes on the road, because our first stop reveals a terrifying trend that is spreading like wildfire.
Number 10. Granby. You pull off the highway and head towards the western entrance of Rocky Mountain National Park, arriving in the once quiet town of Granby. This place used to be the affordable alternative for people who wanted the mountain lifestyle without the multi-million-dollar price tags of its flashier neighbors. But as you drive through the neighborhoods today, you can feel the desperation radiating from the unsold listings. Granby was the poster child for the pandemic Zoomtown boom, where remote workers flocked in droves to escape the city, driving prices up to unsustainable levels. Now that tide has gone out, and it has left a wreckage of overpriced assets in its wake. The silence here is deafening, interrupted only by the sound of wind whistling through developments that were built for a demand that no longer exists. According to recent data from Redfin, the supply of homes for sale in this area has exploded, increasing by nearly 45% compared to just 1 year ago. That is a massive spike in inventory that signals sellers are rushing for the exits all at once. Even more alarming is the days on market statistic, which the Colorado Association of Realtors reports has climbed to over 90 days on average. That means homes are sitting stagnant for 3 full months without a serious buyer, a death sentence in the world of real estate investing. You see price cuts happening on almost every street corner, with sellers slashing listing prices by $20,000 or even $50,000 just to get a showing. The local economy is also showing cracks, as data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that the service sector here is struggling to find workers who can afford to live in the town they serve. The rental market is softening too, with vacancy rates creeping up towards 8%, as reported by Zumper. Investors who bought here thinking they could print money with long-term rentals are finding themselves with negative cash flow. Granby is quickly becoming a parking lot for bad debt, and as you look at the empty streets, you realize this is just the beginning of the altitude sickness affecting your portfolio.
Number 9. Pagosa Springs. Continuing your journey deep into the San Juan Mountains in southwest Colorado, you arrive in a town famous for its hot springs and rugged beauty. It feels isolated here, and that isolation is exactly what is killing the real estate market right now. During the height of the buying frenzy, people bought homes here sight unseen, desperate for privacy and acreage. But now that remoteness has become a liability. As employers across the United States demand workers return to the office, the pool of buyers willing to live 6 hours away from a major airport has evaporated. You drive past beautiful log cabins that look abandoned, not because they are old, but because their owners can no longer justify the cost of a second home that they rarely visit. The market data for this area paints a grim picture of a bubble that has already burst. According to Realtor.com, the median list price here is down roughly 12% from its peak, a clear indicator that the market has rejected the pandemic-era valuations. You will also notice that new listings are piling up, with a 30% year-over-year increase in inventory reported by the local multiple listing service. Sellers are trying to offload properties, but the buyers have simply vanished. The cost of living here is another major factor, with the Economic Policy Institute noting that rural mountain living costs are now 30% higher than the national average due to logistics and energy prices. Another shocking statistic comes from the realm of insurance. Homeowners in this wildfire-prone region are seeing their premiums double or even triple, with some annual policies cited by the Denver Post reaching nearly $10,000. This makes the monthly carrying cost of a home here astronomical, pushing debt-to-income ratios to the breaking point. Vacation rental occupancy is also down, with AirDNA data showing a 15% drop in booking revenue for the area. Investors who relied on tourist dollars to pay the mortgage are bleeding cash. As you leave the thermal waters behind, the steam rising from the springs looks less like relaxation and more like the smoke from a financial fire that is consuming the equity of everyone who bought at the top.
Number 8. Durango. You steer your vehicle further south to a historic railroad town that has long been considered the jewel of the Southwest. It is a vibrant college town with a rich history, but the economic reality on the ground is turning bleak. The charm of the Victorian downtown cannot mask the crisis unfolding in the residential neighborhoods. You notice a stark divide here. The wealthy enclave is holding on by a thread, but the working-class housing market has completely stalled. This is a classic case of affordability hitting a brick wall. The locals, the people who actually keep the town running, have been priced out entirely, leaving behind a hollow shell of a community where houses stand empty because no one who works here can afford to buy them. The affordability index for this county has dropped to its lowest level in over 2 decades, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. To comfortably afford the median-priced home here, a buyer now needs an annual income of over $150,000. Yet the Census Bureau reports the median household income is barely half of that. This disconnect has caused sales volume to plummet, with local Board of Realtors data showing a transaction decrease of 25% year over year. The market is frozen. Sellers are stubborn, refusing to lower prices to meet reality, while buyers are on strike. Adding to the misery, the 30-year fixed mortgage rate hovering around 7% has decimated purchasing power. A monthly payment that was $2,000 just 3 years ago is now close to $4,000 for the same property. Foreclosure starts are slowly ticking up in the region as well, with county records showing a 10% increase in pre-foreclosure filings over the last quarter. You also see the impact on small businesses. Commercial vacancies are rising as the local consumer base shrinks. It feels like a town holding its breath, waiting for a crash that seems inevitable. The train whistle echoes through the valley, sounding less like a call to adventure and more like a warning siren for anyone thinking of parking their capital here.
Number 7. Glenwood Springs. Heading back north, you merge onto the chaotic corridor of Interstate 70 to reach a town famous for its canyon views and vapor caves.
However, the stress of getting here is a perfect metaphor for the stress in the housing market. The traffic is relentless and the infrastructure is crumbling under the weight of tourism, yet the residential market is suffering from a severe hangover. You drive through neighborhoods that sit in the shadow of the highway, where the noise pollution is constant. Buyers are becoming incredibly picky, and they are no longer willing to pay a premium for homes that come with the headache of gridlock and construction. The desirability of this location is fading fast as the quality of life deteriorates. According to data from the Colorado Department of Transportation, traffic volume through this corridor has increased significantly, negatively impacting property values for homes near the interstate. Real estate listings that used to fly off the shelf in a weekend are now lingering for months. Zillow data highlights that 40% of active listings in this zip code have undergone a price reduction in the last 60 days. That is nearly half the market admitting they were wrong about the value of their homes. Inventory is accumulating at a rapid pace, with a 55% increase in active listings compared to the historical average for this time of year. The short-term rental market here is also facing headwinds. The City Council has been debating stricter regulations, creating uncertainty for investors. This regulatory risk is reflected in the sales data, with investment property purchases down by 35%, according to local title company reports. Furthermore, the cost of maintenance in this environment is skyrocketing. Inflation has driven up the cost of contractors and materials by 20%, making fixer-uppers financial suicide. As you watch the cars bumper to bumper on the highway, you realize that owning a home here is like being stuck in that traffic jam. You are going nowhere, and it is costing you a fortune in time and money. If you are finding value in this deep dive into the darker side of the market, please gently hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you these honest, boots-on-the-ground reports.
Number 6. Winter Park. You climb the mountain pass and descend into a valley known for its world-class skiing. In the winter, this place is a wonderland, but right now, it looks like a ghost town in the making. The seasonal nature of this economy has always been a risk, but the current downturn is exposing the fragility of a town built entirely on tourism. You drive past massive condo complexes that look completely dark. These units were snapped up by investors hoping to cash in on the Airbnb gold rush, but the market is now oversaturated. There are simply too many rentals and not enough renters, leading to a race to the bottom in nightly rates. Data from AirDNA reveals that the average daily rate for short-term rentals in this area has dropped by 18% year over year due to massive oversupply. At the same time, cleaning fees and management costs have risen, squeezing margins to virtually zero. On the sales side, Redfin reports that the sale-to-list price ratio has dropped below 97%, meaning the average seller is accepting significantly less than their asking price. This is a buyer's market in theory, but buyers are terrified of catching a falling knife. The homeowner association fees in these condo complexes are another killer. With insurance costs for multifamily buildings skyrocketing across the Mountain West, some HOA dues have doubled in a single year, reaching over $1,000 a month according to local property management notices. That is a second mortgage payment just to maintain the building. You also see a spike in inventory for one-bedroom units, which are the hardest to sell in a recession. The local multiple listing service shows that condo inventory is at a 5-year high. Winter Park is freezing over financially, and for many investors who bought at the peak, the thaw may not come for years.
Number 5. Crested Butte. Your journey takes you deeper into the heart of the Rockies, driving past Gunnison and heading north into a valley that is often called the last great ski town in North America. The scenery here is breathtaking, with jagged peaks looming over a colorful Victorian downtown. But as you cruise down Elk Avenue, the silence of the economy is louder than the beauty of the landscape. This was once a gritty coal mining town, but it is transformed into a gated community for the ultra-wealthy, effectively becoming a ghost town for the actual workforce. You look around and notice that the vibrant local culture is fading, replaced by dark windows and locked doors because the people who keep this town running have been completely priced out.
The disconnect between the local wages and housing costs has created a demographic void that feels almost apocalyptic. The financial data coming out of this valley paints a picture of a market that has completely detached from reality. According to recent reports from the local Association of Realtors, the median home price in this area has surged past $2 million, a figure that excludes nearly everyone except the top 1% of earners. Despite these astronomical asking prices, the actual transaction volume has crashed, with sales down roughly 40% compared to the frenzy of 2 years ago. Sellers are holding on to fantasy valuations, but the buyers have simply vanished. Another shocking statistic from the Census Bureau reveals that nearly 70% of the homes in this entire county are not occupied year-round, meaning this town is empty for the vast majority of the year. The cost of building here has also become prohibitive, with local contractors reporting construction costs exceeding $800 per square foot due to labor shortages and material inflation. You also see a staggering deficit in workforce housing, which the local housing authority estimates at over 500 units needed immediately just to sustain basic services. Without workers, restaurants are closing early and shops are shuttering, turning the town into a hollow museum. Even the rental market is showing cracks, with long-term rental inventory sitting stagnant as landlords refuse to lower prices to meet local incomes. As you leave this picturesque valley, you realize it is beautiful, pristine, and incredibly lonely.
Number 4. Steamboat Springs. You steer your vehicle north towards the Yampa Valley, arriving in a town that prides itself on its Western heritage and cowboy culture. However, as you drive through the residential streets near the ski resort, you are entering the battlefield of one of the fiercest wars on short-term rentals in the United States. You can feel the tension in the air. The local government has implemented strict zoning laws and caps that have effectively banned Airbnb-style rentals in large swaths of the town. This policy change has pulled the rug out from under hundreds of property owners who bought homes here with the specific intention of generating rental income to pay their mortgages. Now, they are stuck with expensive assets that are bleeding cash every single month. The impact of these new regulations is visible in the exploding inventory numbers. According to data from the local multiple listing service, active listings in the restricted zones have surged by more than 50% as investors panic and try to offload their properties. The problem is that no one wants to buy a rental property that they cannot legally rent out. This has led to a softening of property values in these specific zones, creating a confusing two-tiered market. On top of the rental ban, the Routt County assessor has recently reevaluated property taxes, leading to tax bill increases of 40 to 60% for many homeowners in the area. This double whammy of lost rental revenue and skyrocketing holding costs is pushing many investors to the brink of insolvency. Foreclosure filings, while still historically low, have doubled in percentage terms over the last 6 months, according to county public records. You also see a significant slowdown in the luxury segment, with market reports showing that the days on market for homes priced over $3 million have stretched to over 6 months. The local economy is also feeling the pinch, as the reduction in short-term rental capacity has led to a dip in tourism spending, impacting restaurants and shops. Steamboat is trying to save its community's soul, but in the process, it might be crashing its real estate market.
Number 3. Breckenridge. You continue your road trip by heading back to the center of the state, navigating the winding roads of Summit County to reach one of the most visited mountain towns in the world. Breckenridge is famous for its lively atmosphere, but as you drive past the endless rows of condo complexes, you are looking at the epicenter of a massive inventory flood. The market here is incredibly saturated, and it feels like a crowded room where someone just yelled fire. While tourists are still walking Main Street, the property owners are rushing for the exits. You notice sale signs on almost every corner, a visual representation of a market that has shifted from a seller's paradise to a buyer's nightmare almost overnight.
The statistics here are genuinely alarming for anyone holding property. According to the latest data from the Summit Association of Realtors, the total active inventory in the area is up nearly 60% year over year. That is a massive glut of supply that the current pool of buyers cannot possibly absorb. The absorption rate, which measures how long it would take to sell all active listings, has slowed to a crawl, moving from a 1-month supply during the pandemic to a 6-month supply today. This technical shift signals a full-blown buyer's market where sellers have lost all leverage. Furthermore, average sales prices in the condo sector have begun to dip by roughly 8% as sellers finally capitulate to the new reality. The financial metrics for investors here are deteriorating rapidly. The cap rate, which measures the return on investment for rental properties, has compressed to below 3% due to high purchase prices and soaring operating costs. Smart money is looking at those numbers and walking away. You also have to consider the transfer tax. The town imposes a hefty tax on real estate sales, which eats further into seller profits and discourages transaction volume. It is a perfect storm of oversupply, falling demand, and rising costs. If you are seeing similar signs of inventory piling up in the markets you are watching, drop a comment below and let the community know which town is on your radar.
Number 2. Vail. Your journey travels deeper into the heart of the luxury market, arriving at a name that is synonymous with international prestige and wealth. But as you drive past the heated driveways and massive European-style chalets, you sense a coldness that has nothing to do with the weather. Vail feels less like a community and more like a corporate asset portfolio that is severely underperforming. The corporate takeover of this town is complete, pushing out all semblance of local culture, and now even the wealthy buyers are turning their backs on it. The sheer cost of upkeep here is turning these dream homes into financial nightmares, and the for sale signs are lingering for seasons, not just days. The luxury market here has hit a solid brick wall. According to luxury market reports from LIV Sotheby's, sales of homes priced over $5 million have plummeted by 50% year over year. The ultra-wealthy are savvy investors, and right now, they are choosing to keep their cash in high-yield treasuries rather than sinking it into depreciating mountain mansions. You are seeing price reductions in the millions. A home listed for $15 million drops to $12, then $10, and still sits empty. The Homeowners Association fees in Vail are legendary, often exceeding $5,000 a month for premium locations, according to property management listings. When you combine those fees with property taxes and insurance, the carry costs can exceed $100,000 a year for a property that sits empty for 10 months. Inventory of these high-end homes is piling up, with a 2-year supply of luxury homes now sitting on the market. That is a massive overhang that will take years to clear. The service levels in town are also dropping due to the chronic labor shortage, meaning you pay 5-star prices for 3-star service. The bloom is off the rose, and the smart money has already left the building, leaving behind a frozen market of overpriced assets.
Number 1. Aspen. Finally, you reach the end of the road, the pinnacle of the mountain real estate world, and the number 1 spot on our list. Aspen is the ultimate bubble, a place where economic reality has been suspended for decades. But as you drive into the roaring Fork Valley, you are looking at ground zero for the coming correction. The prices here are not just high, they are astronomical, defying all logic and gravity. A simple trailer park home here can cost millions of dollars. But the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And Aspen is teetering on the edge of a precipice. The disconnect between price and value here is the widest in the entire nation, and the air is getting thin. The average home price in Aspen hovers around the $10 million mark, according to recent market analysis, a figure that excludes 99.9% of the human population. But recent data shows a serious crack in the armor. The number of sold listings has dropped by more than 50% compared to the pandemic peak,
The velocity of money has stopped. You are seeing listings languish on the market for hundreds of days, which is unheard of in this exclusive enclave. More concerning is the insurance crisis here. Many major insurers have pulled out of the valley entirely due to wildfire risk. Homeowners are now forced onto the surplus lines market, paying premiums that can exceed $50,000 a year. That is a liability that scares even billionaires. Commercial real estate in town is also suffering, with high rents forcing out beloved local businesses, leaving behind empty storefronts or generic luxury brand pop-ups that feel soulless. The Aspen effect has hollowed out the town from the inside, leaving a golden shell that is brittle and ready to crack. The wealth exodus has begun, and what is left behind is the most beautiful, expensive ghost town in America, serving as a warning for the entire housing market.
As you turn your car around and head back towards the reality of the plains, the lesson of these 10 towns is clear. The mountain real estate market is undergoing a painful, necessary reset. The days of easy money and endless appreciation are over, replaced by the harsh laws of supply and demand. If you found value in this journey and want to protect your financial future, please take a moment to like this video, share it with anyone thinking of buying a mountain home, and subscribe for more unfiltered market analysis. Thank you for riding along, and drive safe out there.